Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Higurashi. I don't know if we necessarily want to go back to school, but I also kind of feel like the alternative might not be good for us either. So I think back to school is what we're going to be doing today, and well, I mean, to say the least, I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Whoops, not that. Continue. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. Oh yeah, Mom's probably gonna ask about why the kitchen's a mess. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door. It was as if I was completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... What is happening right now? Okay. I sprung to my feet and threw my covers at my mom, who was opening the door.
何ケイチ、どうしたの？
ごめん、寝ぼけてた。
Hey Mom, can we move back to the city? It sucks out here. There's nothing to do. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday, I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest. But it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up, and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well.
どうケイチ、体の調子はどう？
No, I'm feeling so bad.
学校行けそう？
Can we move to somewhere else? I felt far from well enough. No, I wasn't mentally fit to go. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? Or what if it had pierced my tongue? There was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways to do it. I was actually thinking that same thing, and I kind of forgot about it, but that, you know, maybe that could have killed him, but I doubt that was their true intention. It was more like a, you know, like a threat, like throwing a brick through someone's window with a, you know, a message on it like that. You're not necessarily intending to kill the person with it, but it's something to definitely get their attention. They wouldn't resort to such a dubious method as having me swallow a needle. They just wanted to see if you were dumb enough to do it, really, and you almost were. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Rina and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this.
ちゃんと病院は行った？お薬は飲んだの？
まあ一応。
Something about my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill.
一度生活のリズムを崩すとなかなか戻らないんだから。さあ、起きて起きて。病は気からって言うのよ。
I heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance. But it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone.
ささ、顔洗ってらっしゃい。ご飯はもうできてるわよ。もうレナちゃんが来るまであんまり時間がないわよ。
Mom's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day.
そうそう。今の壁にぼたもちを投げつけたのはケイチ？
I was wondering about that.
ダメよ、あんなことしちゃ。お父さん、怒ってたわよ。
I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me any further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion had said as she left yesterday, "I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow," came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying, don't be absent. Taking that a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing had happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. If I acted differently, someone like Oishi-san, for example, might end up noticing that something is up. Meaning, if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm. In effect, it would end up communicating something to those who were undesirable. And it seems that was something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. So, if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would, almost creepily, just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these past few days, I'd be able to keep living on like normal.
そんな虫のいい話あるわけ？
I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea that I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. Other than putting needles in her food. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying if I just forgot everything and kept living on like I had been, I'd be forgiven.
ケイチ、ご飯冷めちゃうわよ。急いで降りてらっしゃい。早くしないとレナちゃんが来ちゃうわよ。
あ、今行くよ。
I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked at my somewhat bland breakfast. It seemed that I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Rena. Given yesterday's events, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet up with Rena. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. The chime signaled that Rena had arrived. Mom hurried me along.
ほら、レナちゃん来ちゃったわよ。急いで急いで。
Seem awfully pushy, Mom. Are you sure you're not part of this too? My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Rena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Rena on the other side. Was it the Rena I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual.
おはよ
An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway.
ケイチ君、遅かったから来てみたけど、今日はどうかな？
He better be. The manner in which Rena was concerned was, without a doubt, the Rena I knew. But that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday. Pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death, and the terminal illness and suicide, the fatal beatings, and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Rena and Mion were scary. Of course, forget it all. Forget about all of it. Forget about the mochi, too, which I was told apparently was something actually different in the original translation. Which is why it looks a little bit different from mochi. Forget, forget, forget. Rena once again asked to make sure.
学校行けそう？
あ、大丈夫だよ。
よかった。じゃあ行こう。みーちゃん待ってるよ。
I'm sure she is. Rena showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. And that's what makes it scary. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief.
なのにさとこちゃんね、絶対にできるって意地になっちゃって。
As we were walking, Rena talked about a lot of different stuff, so more than usual.
それで？
さとこちゃん不吉祥だから何度やってもできないの。かいかったんだよ。
Everything Rena talked about was just silly nonsense. So I just replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. We passed by one of our neighbors and they called out to us.
あれ？ケイチちゃんにレナちゃん。今日はちょっと遅いんじゃないの？ミオンちゃん、先に行くって言ってたわよ。
みーちゃん怒ってるかな？怒ってるかな？早く行こう、ケイチ君。
She's gonna send the death orders if we don't stop her. After greeting her neighbor with a smile, Rena turned back to me and poked her tongue out. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile.
ケイチ君笑った？
なんだよ。
Rena stopped and stared back at me.
ケイチ君、今朝もなんか元気なかったから、まだ風邪が治らないのかなって思ってたけど、大丈夫みたいだね。だね。
With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was a bright, sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Maibara. How can you still doubt Rena after she shows you a smile like that? 'Cause you're not an idiot, maybe? Oh, Keiichi, I don't know about you. I mean, to be fair, like, the alternatives seem somewhere between difficult to impossible. Like, I highly doubt you'd be able to convince your parents in any meaningful way to leave town. Like, realistically, I doubt you could. And temporarily leaving, I think, would, not really solve anything. I don't know. The best option, I would think, and it's not even a really good one, would be to tell Oishi-san and, just get the heck out of there. I don't know exactly what he could do, but something like that. And I guess abandon your family. I don't know. I don't see a good solution for him. So, to be fair, his solution of just try to live it like a normal day, while a little bit dumb, is probably one of the, smarter, more sensible ones. I don't know. Just trying to think, in his situation he's in, you're kind of trapped. And this may be the safest route for now, At least kind of see what's happening and be on your guard. It's the best I could say. Maybe I just had a high fever up until today, and I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. I really hope that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there's only one thing I'd wish for. I would want what had happened in the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night. I wanted all of that to have never happened. I wonder how many times I'd wished for these past few days. As long as Rena kept smiling like this, I think it might just become reality. So I wanted Rena to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling.
で、ケイチくん、
Are
昨
you
日
gonna...
のおはぎ、
Are you... No.
ちゃんと食
Are
べ
you
て
gonna
く
do
れ
the weird
た？
thing with the eyes? The music stopped. I kind of feel like you might... That vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Rena's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Rena was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that.
ケイチくん？
I was reluctant to give an answer. Rena stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maibara. Rena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and mouth had gone dry, and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time had passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Oh? Rena playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out. Rena's reaction was still normal. It seemed that there wasn't as long of a pause as I had thought. Somehow I finally squeaked out the rest.
うまかった。
However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Rena's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Rena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo throughout the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well.
そうなんだ。
Ha ha. Nervous laughter. Oh,
で、全部食べたのかな？
Just keep those eyes closed. Every time the music fades out, I'm kind of ready for it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna happen now. Ah! My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I had swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here.
いや、全部は食べきれなかったからさ。まだ残ってるんだ
That
よ。
was a lot of mochi. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it.
あれれ？どれがレナが作ったのか当てる宿題はどうなっちゃったのかな？
あの宿題って今日までだったっけ？
うん、今日までなんだよ。みーちゃん怒るよ。きっと罰ゲームだね。
We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I'd think it was just the usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Rena.
嘘だ!
Oh, okay, that was just imagining it. That didn't happen again. I recalled that unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Rena's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Rena? No, that was wrong. That was still Rena. Oishi-san told me, didn't he?
実は調べてみたら 竜宮さんは引っ越しの少し前に学校で謹慎処分を受けているんですよ。なんでも学校中のガラスを割って回ったんだとか。
That doesn't look like Rinna. Or maybe it does a little. Creepy Rinna. Rinna had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. But she broke all of the windows throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school breaking the windows with a bat. It's a lot of windows. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another. Paying no heed to the flying shards. Oh, so this is when school is active. I was thinking this is like, like a 7 or 8 p.m. at night kind of thing, Can you just imagine, like... Well, Yoshiro-sama says I need to break all the windows. Why? I have no idea. Your classmates aghast. Unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. At least it's a different glass break sound than I'm used to. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with Irina smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant piercing sound of shattered glass. The crunching noise as Rena treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Rena's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wonder what they did as Rena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her, trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room to call for the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight, of Rena busting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing a path for Rena to continue. It would be cruel to blame anyone for looking the other way. No, they weren't simply looking the other way. They knew it was the only way they could protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have found themselves as Rena's new target. What would Rena have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. Meaning I would, be the next window. See this window? It's your face! Smash! Rena staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she grew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. I've noticed when it does this screen shaking thing, it's like a text window. I have to advance it myself, which is weird because I expect it to do it itself, but it doesn't. That happened earlier in the episode as well. Yeah, I've got to advance each one of these. Then Rena struck me with the bat over and over again, like I was one of those windows. I crouched down onto the floor, desperately protecting my head. Rena didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. Ow. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent, it was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, it didn't make as pleasant a sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound Rina wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out? But, of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They'd gain nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Eventually, there would be a faint sound, similar to when you crack open a walnut and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out, unlike cracking open a walnut. Anyway, it wasn't that Rina momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oishi-san told me.
でですね、そのカウンセリングをした医師のカルテに、レナさんの会話内容が記載されているんですがね、その中に出てくるんですよ。結構。
何がです？
出てくるんですよ。親代様って単語が。
Little less spooky now, but still a little spooky. Following that, Rina was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then as Rina was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama.
親代様っていう幽霊みたいなものがですね、夜な夜な自宅にやってくるっていうんですよ。枕元に立って自分を見下ろすんだって。
That was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. Then what Rina did, was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oyashiro-san, or Oishi-san, I was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not of some curse. Except, if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. Why? How? For what reason? Was Rina? Was everyone? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Oyashiro's curse. In the aftermath, Rina had admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. It's okay. He just likes breaking windows in people's heads, apparently. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Rina. She did that because she was possessed by something strange, like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Rina's fault. Oyashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew this was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice? Accepting that Oyashiro-sama's curse exists? Or that Rina and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths? I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that. But that was no longer possible. I had received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my own convenience, regardless of whether my opponent were a human or a curse. I won't let it kill me. as if I would just bend over and give in. For no good reason at all.
圭一くん
Oh, we're at school already.
さっきから変な顔してる。なんでだろう。
Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I'd realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exercised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there's no way Rena could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. Boing. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped on my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. The chalk dust went into my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony.
鶴休みの圭一さんにはお似合いですことよ。圭一もレナもおはようございますです。おはよう、さとこちゃんにリカちゃん。
Not quite in the mood for it. I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently.
何なんですの？張り合いがありませんわ。圭一、まだ本調子じゃないみたいです。だから、今日は加減してあげて、ね。
Suddenly, there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit.
よ、ケイちゃん。しっかり休んできた？
It was Mion. My mind was full of the stuff about Rina, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi? That hawkish gaze from yesterday.
ああ、おはよ
なんだ。ずいぶんと覇気のない挨拶じゃん。差し入れのおはぎ、ちゃんと食べてくれなかったの？
I'm like this because I ate them. Those words were itching to be blurted out.
う。やっぱ食欲がなくてさ。いくつかは食べたけど、だいぶ残しちゃったんだ。
あれ？じゃあ宿題は？どれがレナの手作りかってのの回答は？
圭一くん宿題忘れなんだって。
He said he'd forget his homework.
ありゃー。じゃあ仕方ないね。罰ゲーム。
Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maibara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon, the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Is it really going to be dull and ordinary, though? I can tell you the past couple days definitely haven't been.